Hi, this is Allison Henry with System and Network Security at UC Berkeley. And today I'm going to show you how to use a really neat program called TrueCrypt to encrypt sensitive data and files on your computer. So the neat thing about TrueCrypt is it is completely free and it's fairly easy to use, as you will see. So first we need to get the software. So you can go to TrueCrypt, www.truecrypt.org. And there we go. Free open source disk encryption software. We'll click on the downloads button and download the latest version. So one of the super neat things about TrueCrypt is that you can use a TrueCrypt volume that you can encrypt on any other platform, many platforms supported by TrueCrypt, including Mac OS X and Linux. So you can copy the TrueCrypt file between these operating systems so you can have your restricted data if you use like Windows at work and Mac at home. So once you download it, it's very easy to just install. Use your default options here. Accept. So you have a couple of options when you install it. If you want to just extract the TrueCrypt executable so it runs, say, from a removable USB drive, you can do that, or you can install it locally on the machine. If you choose the extract option and copy it to a USB drive, you do need to be administrator on any workstation where you're running that executable. So if you need something to get to your restricted data or your sensitive data when you're at somebody else's machine, it won't work unless they've given you administrator access to their workstation. And one of the things to keep in mind is that you want to be careful what machine you're opening this sensitive data on, because if you're not admin on the machine, you don't know anything about the security status of that machine. So in this case, we're just going to install this locally, and then once it's installed locally on this workstation, then other users, even if they're not admins, they can use TrueCrypt. Go to next. Like clutter on my desktop, click install. That's all there is to it. It's installing our program now. So with TrueCrypt, you can do some really neat things, including encrypting a full drive. Even if that full drive contains your Windows system, you can do a full system encryption with TrueCrypt. For now, we'll just make a simple volume. You can see how that works, how easy it is. Alright, so TrueCrypt is installed, and you'll see now that it shows up in my Programs menu, and let's run TrueCrypt. Alright, so the first step in using TrueCrypt is making your encrypted volume. So the way this works is your TrueCrypt volume is a file that's stored on your computer, but you can mount this file to a drive letter, and then you use it just like any other drive, like a USB drive that you plug in. But all of the data that you copy to that drive letter with just the drag and drop Windows interface is going to be saved within this single file in an encrypted state, so that once you close that volume, you can't get to that data inside of that file unless you have the password. I'll show you how that works. Let's create the volume. And so we're just going to create the that file container. You have these other options I mentioned about encrypting a whole drive, but we'll start with this. Now the hidden volume is an option where you cannot actually see the fact that there is encrypted data there, and it's so that if somebody is trying to force you to divulge your data, say, you know, the kidnappers have you and they're gun to your head and get the data, you could say, I don't have that data, it's nowhere on my computer, and they wouldn't see that you do have hidden data within a TrueCrypt volume. Probably not necessary for most circumstances. So we'll go for a standard volume. And then we want to save it somewhere. Let's just save it on the desktop so it's easy to find. Now, by default, it's going to save this without a file extension, which means that you can't tell exactly what kind of file it is just by looking at it in Windows Explorer. Now, if you want to add a .tc extension to the end, then it will be clickable, like another Windows file will open TrueCrypt automatically when you click on it. And again, that's just how much you want to hide the fact that you have an encrypted file in the first place. So let's leave it with the file extension just for ease of use. We'll click next. I'm not going to go over all of these options. There's a lot of information on TrueCrypt's website. The default ones here should be fine for most every use that you're going to have. Now here's the part where you make what size you want this file to be. If you pick something too small, then you might not have enough room for all of your data. If you pick something too large, it's going to use up a lot of space on your drive. Because no matter how much data you actually copy to it, the encrypted file itself will always be the same size, and that's the size that you set here. You see I have 8 gigs free, so I don't want to make something huge that I'm not going to need to copy data to that's going to eat up a lot of extra space. So let's just say I have 600 megs. The nice thing about if you pick 600 megs, then you could burn it to a CD. All right, this is where I set my password. This password will be required whenever you want to mount the drive. So pick something you're not going to forget, because if you don't have this password, you will not be able to open your TrueCrypt volume. Let's see if I type it right this time. There you go. TrueCrypt also has the ability to support key files. What a key file is a file that you can store either locally on the machine or maybe on a network share or on a USB drive. And that file must also be present in order for the TrueCrypt volume to open in the location where it's expected. So that allows you to use a file as a key. So you could have maybe a password that the person has to know in addition to a file that they have to have, a sort of a two-factor way to authenticate and open your TrueCrypt volume. It could also be a convenience factor if you have a network-mounted drive and you want to use a file on that drive as a key file. If the computer is removed from the network, this TrueCrypt volume can't be opened because that file would not be available through the network path. But we'll just leave those options for now off and use a simple volume password. It warns you if you pick a short password, but we'll just say that's fine for now. All right, now it's generating the keys that's going to use to encrypt this volume, and wants you to help it with a randomness pool by generating some random movement. So we'll do that for it. And now we click, oh yeah, you want to pick the file system that you want to use. FAT is compatible with Windows, Mac. NTFS can only be read on Macs, it can't be written to, so you just want to pick, the compatible file system depending on what use you have. Let's just leave it on FAT. And now it's creating the volume. You see it pop up on the desktop over here. And because I added that .tc extension, that's why you see the icon, and this is going to be a clickable file. It takes a little bit of time to run through. All right, now we're done, and the TrueCrypt volume has been successfully created. Okay, and now we'll exit the program. All right, so now how do I copy data to this volume? Well, there's a couple of different ways to mount the TrueCrypt volume, but from within this TrueCrypt window, we can just easily select a drive letter. You pick which drive letter you want to mount it on. All of these are free, so we'll just pick X. Now we need to select the file. That is our TrueCrypt volume. And it's on the desktop there, TrueCrypt data. So now the file is selected, and you can see the path to the file there. And the drive letter is selected right there. Once those two things are in place, you can click Mount. This is the point where it asks you for the password. Again, if you didn't remember this password, don't know this password, you cannot mount the file, you cannot get to any data. All right, so there we go. Now it's mounted. And we can confirm this by just opening up Windows Explorer window and look at my computer, and we'll see now we have this local disk X. Now this is just a regular drive letter, and we can copy files to it. There we go. Use it just like any other drive letter, copying back and forth. Now when we're all done using this volume, we want to close it up, go back to the TrueCrypt window, select the open drive letter, and you just click dismount, and there it is. It is gone, and our data is secure within this file. So this file that I copied in is now stored in an encrypted form in TrueCrypt data. And if we see our drive letters now, you'll see that that X is gone. And the only way to get that file back would be to mount it again, entering the password again. And now we can see there's that file. So that is just the basics of how to use TrueCrypt. In the next video, we'll show some more advanced topics like how to back up the volume header information and how to encrypt whole drives.